Dr. Umesh Khanna, Dr. Anita Saxena, Dr. Bharat Shah, and Dr. Gogane. I thank you for inviting me today for this conference. Now, last week we had a Society of Renal Nutrition meeting, and there were 5 lectures on patients on CKD, the diets, and patients on dialysis, patients with anemia, nephrotic syndrome, and stone disease. I will talk mainly on diet in AKI, what are the myths and how you should bust it. So AKI, non-dialysis CKD and CKD, I will cover CKD on dialysis, I will cover, and Dr. Jahir will talk on diet in stone disease, then anemia correction, and the rest, whatever is left out. So what were the dietary myths discussed in SRNM Con? All kidney diseases are incurable. That is what people think. But most AKI are reversible with timely treatment. I am all right, so I don't think I have a kidney problem. That is a common concept. But AKI is abrupt reduction in kidney function and may not be associated with clinical symptoms early in the course of disease. So AKI, even 0.3 milligram creatinine rise or decrease in output, we call it AKI. People think AKI is very rare. No, the overall incidence in ICU is 20 to 50%. There is one diet shoots all types of AKI. No, that is not true. Diet in AKI will depend on whether patients are in catabolic state or non-catabolic state. Dietary regime is same for all types of kidney ailments. No, the fluid and electrolyte requirement will depend on patient's volume status and presence of dyselectrolemias, as well as if patient is on hemodialysis or KRRT. Parenteral nutrition is better than enteral nutrition. So this myth has to be broken. At any point in a critical patient or AKI, enteral nutrition is still the best, and parenteral nutrition should be given only if there is a problem with GI tract or there is obstruction there. So patient's concept is do anything but don't put me on dialysis. And in all AKI, protein requirement is same. So this is wrong. Sometimes in AKI, when patient is hypercatabolic, hyperkalemic, fluid overload, you need to start the dialysis early to prevent complications, and protein requirements can change during the stage of AKI as required. So let us look at what are the protein requirements. If a patient is non-catabolic in AKI with no renal replacement therapy required, then that patient requires 0.8 to 0.1 gram of protein per kg body weight. Non-catabolic patient on dialysis, hemodialysis will require about 1.1 to 1.2 grams of protein. Non-catabolic patient on CRRT will require higher protein intake, and catabolic patients with no renal replacement therapy about 1 gram, but catabolic patient on dialysis about 1 to 1.5 grams, and patient on CRRT requires almost up to 1.7 grams of protein per kg body weight. So depending upon what kind of AKI is there, you have to advise the protein intake of the patient. What about other nutritional requirements? The energy requirement in a AKI patient is 20 to 30 kilocalories per kg per day. It has been shown that AKI patients are hyperglycemic because of stress and other things, so you should not give very high calories. Out of the calories, 5 kilocalories per kg comes from proteins, while other 25 kilocalories should come from carbohydrates and fat. And it is recommended that 2/3 of non-protein calories should be from glucose, and 1/3 of non-protein calories should be from fat. And in all AKI, you need amino acid supplements. So after covering AKI briefly, let us go to patients of CKD who is not on dialysis. Now we have a 56-year-old male who is diabetic, who has got swelling, he has got frothy urine. On evaluation, creatinine is 2.1, potassium is all right, phosphorus is high, albumin is low, 2.9, his hemoglobin is low, and urine protein creatinine ratio is 2.4. Now, at the outset, if we look at the dietary requirement of patients on CKD stage 1 to 5, not on dialysis or on dialysis, the major difference comes in protein intake. Otherwise, calories, sodium, potassium, fluids, salt, and other micronutrients almost remain identical in both the cases. So, what are the dietary myths in non-dialytic? The patient who is not on dialysis is that restrict food intake to avoid rise in creatinine. So this is wrong. Stop protein in diet to avoid dialysis. This is also wrong because otherwise patient will develop sarcopenia. Drink 8 glasses of water to flush uremic toxins, and low sodium salt can be taken in place of normal salt. So these are the myths associated with diet in patients on CKD. So the recommendation is the energy intake should be 30 to 35 kilocalories across spectrum of CKD, whether patient is on dialysis or not on dialysis. Protein intake, if you are not on dialysis, then it should be 0.6 to 0.8 grams if you are a diabetic CKD, and if you are non-diabetic CKD, and it should be 0.55 to 0.6 gram per kilogram body weight. And a patient on dialysis, either hemo or peritoneal dialysis, protein intake should be more than 1.2 grams per kg per day. Sodium should be, salt should be about 4 to 5 grams per day. Potassium should be restricted. And in PD, you have little liberty. You can have a little extra potassium because patient will tolerate it well. And phosphorus, across spectrum of CKD, you should have low phosphorus intake. And if after controlling phosphorus intake, even then if phosphorus is elevated, you should give binders. Now, very important point here is sometimes people only talk about proteins containing phosphorus, but proteins as required on dialysis or not dialysis patient, you have to give. But if you stop the preserved food or processed food or food which is enhanced with colors or colas and sodas in CKD patients, you will be able to stop a lot of phosphorus intake, and thus you will be allowed to liberalize the diet in the patient. So this is a great slide which I came across in 2020. What is the protein recommendations in CKD not on dialysis? The patient with normal kidney function, GFR more than 60, no proteinuria but very high risk of CKD because of its hypertension, diabetes, obesity, or a family history. It should start taking less protein, less than 1 gram per kg per day, and it should take more plant-based protein. When patients with CKD stage 3, GFR between 30 to 60, when there is no such a great proteinuria, they continue to take about 0.6 to 0.8 grams of protein if GFR is less than 45. In a patient who has got advanced CKD, where GFR is less than 30 and he has got proteinuria, then it should come down to 0.6 to 0.8 grams per kg per day, out of which 50% should be high biological value. There are some patients who want to do everything to reduce progression of kidney disease. You can reduce protein intake to 0.28 to 0.42 grams per kg per day, and you can give essential amino acids and keto acids. Now, when these patients they transition to dialysis therapy with good residual renal function, and you are planning incremental dialysis preparation, then on non-dialysis days, you should give 0.6 to 0.8 grams of protein And on the day of dialysis, which is a hypercatabolic state, you give 1 gram per kg per day. So 2 days in a week, you give higher protein. Other 5 days, you give low protein diet. Now, patient who is on 3 times in a week dialysis and who has got imminent protein energy wasting, you should have a high protein diet of almost 1.2 grams per kg per day. And if they are in AKI by any chance or if they are hypercatabolic, you may have to increase the protein intake. So, protein intake becomes the main thrust of your dietary advice in CKD, but more important to me is energy intake. All our diabetic patients, HB1AC should be targeted at 7 and they should be allowed to eat good calories. If they eat adequate calories, then you will be able to achieve successful protein restriction to prevent progression of the disease. And the body has a tremendous adjustability. Body has adaptability and accommodation. So when you reduce protein intake, but if you are taking adequate calories, there won't be loss of muscle mass in a CKD patient. Reducing salt intake, the most important thing is patients should not be eating extra salty things like papad, chutney, achar, sauce, bread, those things which are available in the armamentarium, which you should not eat in CKD so that you can cut down your salt intake. You can use certain spices to improve the taste of the food. And salt, when you reduce, it will help you control blood pressure, fluid control. It will protect residual renal function and will have cardiovascular benefits. Potassium, all of us know, practicing people, that both CKD, dialysis and non-dialysis patients, our worry is with hyperkalemia because the drugs like ACE, ARBs, some patients on dialysis are on inadequate dialysis. There is acidosis, constipation, and there is hyperkalemia. So you have to, if patient has residual kidney function, you can give diuretics to reduce potassium load, or you dialyze the patient adequately 3 times in a week to control the potassium. So, seeing this case where a patient is on dialysis twice a week with a jugular catheter, altered sensorium, low sugars, and he's a smoker, lives alone, recurrent infections because of catheter, and he has repeated changes in dry weight over past 6 months. Is clinically dry, cachectic, has scratch marks over trunks and legs due to scratching. His hemoglobin is low, creatinine is high, potassium is high, sodium is low, calcium is low, phosphorus is 9, and his albumin is 2.2. So this is a classical patient whom we see who has protein energy wasting with low albumin, very high phosphorus, very high potassium. And as all of us know that patients on dialysis are hypercatabolic due to the procedure itself, poor nutrition, and there are many other associated conditions. So they develop protein energy wasting, and uh, one has to look at the cause, whether it is inflammation, acidosis, hyperphosphatemia, smoking, depression. What is the reason why patient is developing protein energy wasting? So the myths are in dialysis patient that fluid restriction is not important when patient is on dialysis. But it has been shown that somebody who gains 4 to 5 kg in between dialysis, if you keep ultrafiltrate rate of more than 10 ml per kg per hour, then it has increased mortality and it can cause sudden cardiac stunning. So some patient would say that I can tolerate 5 liters ultrafiltration, so I don't need dialysis 3 times in a week. But that's not true. As I said, it can cause myocardial stunning and cardiac dysfunction. The common other myth is low creatinine means good dialysis. I always tell my friends that low creatinine may be indication of protein energy wasting rather than adequate dialysis. So patient who eats well on dialysis will keep a creatinine between 7 to 10 or 7 to 12. And I would always say that patients who are keeping well and if the creatinine is high, and if you check their albumin, that will be normal. Other myths are that I need to take high protein every day, even on incremental dialysis. So as I discussed in the previous slide, in incremental dialysis, on non-dialysis days, you should keep low protein diet to preserve the renal function. People have concept that vegetarian food does not have high protein. We had a wonderful talk by Dr. Kalantar on Play-Doh diet, that is plant dominant diets in CKD, across spectrum of CKD. It is very useful. Low sodium salts can be used as alternative in food preparation. It is very dangerous in CKD patients because they are potassium salts. And another myth is my creatinine is under control, so I don't need medication for phosphorus. As I said, colas and processed and enhanced food has high phosphorus. Phosphorus can cause coronary calcification and increase mortality. So we should address it. So last slide, my personal observation in last 37 years of practice that patients are poorly informed about nutrition in all stages of CKD. Patients tend to listen to relatives and friends and other patients about diet more than the nephrologist. So you should have a dedicated nutritionist to guide them. Most of the patients continue pre-dialysis low protein diet thinking that they will be able to stop dialysis. That's wrong. They do not have concept about calories. They eat less. And because of that, they develop muscle mass loss and sarcopenia. They believe higher the creatinine on dialysis, poorer the health. It is the other way around. If you're eating well, your quality of life is good and your creatinine may remain high. They are ill-informed about value of serum albumin in the blood test. People do hemoglobin, creatinine, potassium every month, but they don't check their albumin, which is essential to diagnose protein energy wasting. And quite often, albumin is not included in follow-up investigations on dialysis. So we should change our practice patterns, and nutrition should be emphasized as valuable as control of diabetes, hypertension, and hemoglobin in CKD patients. Thank you.